Greetings, this is Vane and welcome back to Let's Play Warhammer 40,000 Gladius, Relics of War. Okay, consider the Predator. Let your soul be armoured with faith, driven on the tracks of obedience, which overcomes all obstacles, and armed with the three great guns of zeal, duty, and purity. Traditional Imperial pair, a source unknown. Didn't think this one through, did I? Okay, well, we need more barracks. Or dormitories, even. Okay, we're on our final tier. What have we got? Fortress of Redemption missile silos. Grants Fortresses of Redemption a Crackstorm missile silo. Grants ground vehicles the ability to fire hunter-killer missiles. Hurricane Bolter grants Storm Raven gunships a Hurricane Bolter. Epic causes orbital deployment not to consume actions when deploying adjacent to scout bikers or Storm Raven gunships. Okay. And Siege Masters, chapter tactic that increases the damage of units attacking enemy units in cities and fortifications. Okay. Hey! The end is near, one way or the other. You and your surviving veterans are fighting a desperate rearguard in a fortress, driven back step by step by the C'tan's forces. As you retreat into the forge, the foul C'tan shows itself, its golden face shifting horribly through forms and faces you know. The master of the forge hurls himself bodily at the abomination, buying time with his life. A heartbeat after he falls, you see the C'tan scowl in horror and disgust, and lunge towards you and the exterminator's device. As the C'tan's killing blow descends upon you, the device's whine suddenly falls silent. In the moment of its detonation and your chapter's destruction, you feel nothing but pride at carrying out the Emperor's will. Victory! The chapter master fulfilled his duty to the Emperor at an immeasurable cost to the Imperium. Gladius Prime has been scoured clean by the Exodite device, down to its rocky surface. It will be a long and slow road towards re-establishing the chapter after this disastrous victory. The chapter's few survivors will need to find a new planet to call home. Then the fortress will need to be reconstructed from scratch, new recruits found, trained, tested and modified, and gene seed implanted. For generations the chapter will rebuild, while others seize the glories that should have been yours. Yet one day, elsewhere in the Imperium, Robert Goodman will lead the Space Marines again, standing side by side with the Astra Militarum and the Tech Priests, against the old enemies, and this chapter, replenished 1,000 superhuman heroes strong, will fight alongside them for the chapter's glory and for the Emperor. Okay. So yeah. So total score. economy. We had a bit of a dip there. We had a lot of a dip there. That was because, yeah. But we had a few setbacks, but most of our military was basically increasing. Our research was massive. There was a bit of a boost there. Details, okay. Damage dealt, all that. Damage taken. Units created. So, we are done. There you go. Space Marines. So, well, I'm happy to call that a bit of an episode. Quite frankly, I'm happy to call that series. We nearly got to the end of the Space Marines. Once you get to like tier 10, there's not really much else kind of in terms of power that you need then. It's like a few extra bonuses. But by then you've kind of established your tactics at that point. I mean, obviously it helped that we had ourselves on very easy. I mean, 50%. Well, it wasn't, was it? It was like 100% loyalty, which basically meant that we got double resources, and we still found ourselves struggling at the end, running out of resources and stuff. But then we never really run out of requisitions at all. So I think the next time we'll play this, we'll definitely be playing the Necrons. I'm definitely going to be playing this again. It's a very different vibe to Civilization 6. Simply because the focus is much more on the units. It is literally a 4X war game as opposed to a kind of building a civilization where you may or may not have some sort of militaristic goals in the midst of that. Here, this is literally, it's all about war. I mean, the tagline for Warhammer 40,000 says it all. In the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war. And yeah. So but we carried out an exterminatus on Gladius Prime. Luckily there was nobody else other than us at that point. Apparently we'd already killed them all. Well, they didn't quite make it. Didn't see the Orks in this game though. I mean, they were briefly mentioned in the introduction, but they didn't really. We saw the Imperial Guard, because there were some traitors to Imperial Guard, and we were up against the Necrons, especially for the end game. So, it'll be interesting to see how the Necrons and the Orks and the Imperial Guard play. I mean, this was a small map, so we kind of explored very little. Well, we kind of explored the whole thing, but it was a very little map. So the use of orbital deployment, you know, although it was useful, we're still very much fighting around the fortress city anyway. Although I can imagine that that will come in quite useful if you're like doing a push onto the front line. Of course, the fun part is once you've sent all your troops over there, getting them back. Because, I mean, I can imagine, especially on the larger maps, that can be quite a trek. So, especially if you've only got one city. And obviously, initial placement really matters a lot. But one city does mean that you definitely aren't worrying about expansion too much. You've got a few building a base, but you know, it's like, yeah, that's where you put, that's your point, is that's your headquarters, and you're very much just pumping out units. So I mean, this game kind of come out in 2018, so it's like 5 years old now. There's a good range of DLC for it, and that's only kind of scratching the surface of the factions that are actually in Warhammer 40,000. So there's a lot more that could be done. But yeah, it makes for a nice, interesting change of pace. For the kind of strategy, and it does give me, because I mean, alternating between Stellaris and Civ 6, because I mean, I do like those games, but they're very, very long and very, very long, and they're very, very focused more on empire building than they are on actual kind of warfare. So having a war focused 4X game, you know, and I think, yeah, this game does it. This game really does that really well. I mean, I'm used to the Dawn of War series, which was probably the first good Warhammer 40,000 kind of computer adaptation that I've played, and that was an RTS game. So having something that's turn-based that allows you to think a little bit more strategically rather than trying to keep on top of everything and click the buttons as fast as possible. You know, I think there's a lot of scope for this genre. Of course, it's not exactly you're controlling the empire, is it? But then even in the war game, it's not like, oh yeah, you've got all the assets of the Imperium of Man. The whole point of the setting is that the Imperium of Man spans galaxies upon galaxies. You know. But yeah. But yeah, I'm going to call it there, because I mean, there's not really much more to go on other than basically, yeah, I really like this game. and I'm looking forward to some of the DLC content. But I mean, seems a bit weird having only 4 factions in the early game, but when you think of just how different those factions are and how they've been balanced and the different gameplay styles, but that's actually a surprising amount of work, where compared to, say, Civ 6, where you've got a leader and a unique unit and a unique infrastructural building, and that's about it. A few unique abilities, but it's generally you're playing the same. Whereas here it's like, no, each faction is a different faction. So, yeah, I can appreciate that. Anyway, this has been Vane doing a Let's Play Warhammer 40,000 Gladius, the Relics of War. If you like what you're seeing here, be sure to like, subscribe, share and comment. Please consider sponsoring me on Patreon, and until next time, goodbye.